Hey, what's up? It's Isaac, and it's late afternoon, but I just got the mail, and I just got some new chain tensioners from JW Bicycle Products. So I want to see, I think these were about 50 bucks. I want to see if these highly engineered chain tensioners are worth the extra money, because I just use the cheap ones that I can get, like SE. Not that they're cheap, but they're affordable. They're definitely not 50 bucks. So I struggle with chain tension. I struggle with installing them, getting them dialed. So I posted up on I think it was a PK Ripper group on Facebook. Yeah, it was a PK Ripper group. Hey, getting some chain tension. This is your opportunity to pitch why I need to buy expensive ones. And so my buddy Rick, who else is in there? There's a few people in there. I'm sorry I forget your names, but a lot of people mentioned JW. So I'm going to try them out on the Purple Rain. What do you call it? The LA Rain bike. It's my wife's bike, but I want to get good chain tensioners for her bike, because nothing will stop her wanting to ride with me than her bike having tech issues while we're on a ride out. So I'm investing in my own future by spending a little bit extra dollars on this, because I'm still okay riding the other ones. But hey, we're gonna go check it out. We'll put them on. Let's see what's up.
Yo, what's up everyone? 80s BMX Craig back in my garage again. Today we're talking about chain tensioners. Isaac and I were talking about them. We brought them up because we saw on social media that people were talking about like different prices, different quality, different construction, all those things, right? So today we're going to talk about these chain tensioners, and I've got 3 different brands that I've recently purchased that I want to tell you about. What's the difference, the construction, the composition of the chain tensioners, and really the functionality. So let's get into this and we'll talk about each one and why we use them and what I use them for and why I like to use them. And hopefully this may help make your decision. So let's get into that right now. All right, so here's a typical chain tensioner, okay? This is an apparatus or an accessory that fits on the rear of your bike, right here on the rear dropout. The chain tensioner basically does a couple functions in my opinion. One, it's called a chain tensioner for a reason, because once you set this chain tensioner and get your wheel centered and back, it keeps your chain tense, keeps the tension on your chain. So, I mean, that's the obvious thing, hence the name. But what I really like about chain tensioners is that once you're all centered up and you've locked everything down, you can dial in this chain tensioner by using this, this bolt here, and that bolt is going to press against this wedge in the back to keep your rear hub, your rear wheel nice and tight so that it doesn't slip or move, even if your axle nuts happen to loosen and you're pedaling hard. Really, these were probably best suited on race bikes, but they do perform a really good function here on our big bikes as well. So I like them. I like to use them, especially since on this particular bike, my Dogtown, I've had this rear hub slip out right before a ride out. So I wish I had the chain tensioners on, and it's actually what got me into wanting to use these chain tensioners. So that's basically it. As you can see, like I said, once you get these put on, and basically there's 2 holes in a chain tensioner. They'll fit a 3/8 axle through this hole, and there's another one, which this one is going through. Once those are set on here, you dial it in by either tightening or loosening this bolt, which pushes this wedge piece into your dropout. As you can see from the back here, I've got it clamped on the rear dropout, and that wedge piece is nice and secure there. I basically tighten this bolt, and once I get it where I want, I've got a retention nut right here that keeps this bolt from backing out while I'm riding. So it's a really good concept. I really like using these, and I want to talk to you now a little bit about different brands, their costs, and really, is there a difference between a $20 chain tensioner and a $50 chain tensioner? Okay, so let's take a look at that. All right, so first up, we have the SE Racing chain tensioners. I've got this one kind of in a stainless colorway, and they come in all different colors. These things are really cool, so you can really customize and accessorize your bike depending on what colors you want. I just happen to have silver, and you'll see I have other colors as we go on with other brands. So these right here, it says it right on the package, holds wheel firmly in place, CNC machined aluminum, fits 3/8, which are 10mm axles, and they're about 2.5 ounces per the pair. So really lightweight aluminum, really well constructed. I'm going to keep these in the plastic right now, but as you can see, the makeup is just like the pair we just talked about, and it also has 2 of the 3/8 axle holes milled into these, so you can adjust and move these around as needed. The cost on these SE's racing chain tensioners are $19.99. They're awesome. I've used them quite a bit, got them on quite a few of my bikes, and they perform their job pretty well. I mean, they're no frills. They do make ones that are cheaper than this, but I'm going to say bang for the buck. The SE Racing chain tensioners are probably one of the best bets you can get, as long as you can find them. It's always one of those things with parts right now for BMX is just finding these, but they seem to pop up in pretty big numbers in bike shops that carry SE products. So yeah, this is your, what I would say is your basic or entry level chain tensioner. If you want to say there is an entry level, I don't really know if there is, but as far as bang for the buck, like I said, $19.99 gets these in your hands, and they work really well. All right, well, here's an example of the SE chain tensioner on one of my bikes. As you can see, I've got this on the Fat Quad. The tensioner is affixed to the rear axle through the axle nut, and the chain tensioner sits nice, flush, and flat against that dropout. So that's one of the features of these chain tensioners. They are milled to be perfectly laying against your rear dropout. Now, as I centered my rear tire with the frame, I adjusted this bolt, as you can see here, and then I used the bolt retention nut, or the bolt retention nut as I call it, to keep everything in place while I'm riding. And as you can see, a little bit of the bolt sticks out the back according to my adjustments. So, you know, that's one of the things that I can say with the SE and other chain tensioners is that you can't expect to see that bolt sticking out the back. Not on all of them. So we'll look at a chain tensioner in a second that is a little bit different if you don't like that bolt hanging out the back. So that's the SE chain tensioner. All right, back on the Dogtown bike here, and well, there's the dog. But anyways, so we have the TNT chain tensioner, a little bit different, but a lot of it the same. I guess you could say that. There is more milling on this, more design, more inlay to this chain tensioner, which is TNT, but it has the same construction as far as, or design as far as like it affixes to the rear dropout via the axle nut through the axle. It sits flush and flat on the dropout. And it has, like we talked about earlier, the wedge that pushes itself into the dropout to make sure it's nice, tight, and secure. Now you will see this bolt is sticking out further than the SE. That has nothing to do with the chain tensioner. It just has to do with my chain length and the way that I set up the rear axle and the dropout. So this actual axle, if you can see, sits really close to the front of the dropout. Therefore, I don't have as much of this wedge that I push into the rear dropouts. But same thing as the SEs. These just have, like I said, a little bit more milling, a little bit more design and look to them, but really perform the same type of function as the SE chain tensioner. These are, according to their website, and I think what I paid for them, $34.99. So they are about 15 bucks more than the SE chain tensioner made by TNT. All right, up next we have these chain tensioners by JW Bicycle Products. As you can already tell by looking at them, they are a little bit different, but there are similarities to the other two we just saw. So let's take a look at these. So these also have two 3/8 holes for adjustment on the axle. But where I see these differ is you can see a little bit more machining right out of the gate. If you look up close here, you'll notice these kind of like measuring tape increments. And on this slide, this hammer here, this dial, you'll see that there's notches right there that you can line up with those increments so that when you are centering your wheel or your rear axle in the back of the bike, right, you have some type of increment that you can use to dial those both in and be extremely accurate. Be 100% with you guys. I've never used these before. They're going to go on a bike that I have that I'm rebuilding right now, so I can't wait to throw these on and see if really it's that easy to dial in the rear axle by just using these increments, and see how close I can get to centering that rear wheel. Another thing that's pretty cool that you'll notice on these, no bolt out the rear of the chain tensioner. So if you look inside internally, you have an Allen head bolt that when tightened or loosened will be able to set the chain tensioner's tension onto the rear axle. Looking on the back of these guys, so a little bit of product inscribing on the chain tensioner, which is cool, I guess. Not really needed, but as you can see, they've got their website on there. Made in the USA, Bicycle Products. This is the non-drive side, and I guess with these, they may want you to use one on each side, depending on which one you have, because on one of them, it says drive side. Now, I don't know why it says drive side. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, which side they go on. I could be wrong. If you guys know something that I don't, hey, don't feel shameful to drop a comment and let me know why one of these says drive side and one doesn't. So essentially, I don't think it would matter which side you put it on, but it's pretty cool. So that's the JW Products chain tensioner. Now these are 45 bucks. So basically we saw the SE chain tensioners at 19 bucks, 19.95, right? And we saw the TNTs at 34.95, basically $35. And then we see the JWs, they are about 45 bucks.
All right, so first up, this is the packaging it comes in. It's a diagram. Explains that you need a 3mm hex to adjust, and it works with 3/8 axles, which is what you have if you have a Big Ripper or any of these. And then it has a sticker, but it just comes in a little pouch, mailed. Nothing super fancy, but I'm not here for the package. I am here for this. So you can see it's got some notches cut out down here, and then the piece, this is one piece. This here is actually the bar that moves here. That's all one piece. Now it also has the tension screw here is recessed. It's inside, so it's not going to bang on stuff sticking out like let me show you. Let me walk over here and show you the SE one. So the SE chain tensioner, tried and true. Tighten up this one, lock it. Busted. But lock that tight and it's good to go. This one, up against an SE, it's about the same, maybe, it's pretty close to the same profile from here to here. You just don't have this screw sticking out. So pretty neat the way they've engineered that. I'm most excited about the notches that they have cut in here. All right, cut the video real quick because my wife came home. So what I'm excited about is trying these on, using these ticks here to dial in the bike. So I will let you know, $50 in my opinion, because this is where I'm investing right here, just to try and make that faster. Because honestly, you guys, chain tension, I struggle with it. So let's get to it. That washer off. Now, one thing I noticed, this one says jwbmx.com. This one says drive. So I'm gonna use this one, this side. So show you how I'm fitting that. So you have two options. This, too short. This, golden. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the 3mm Allen in here. I'm gonna rotate it counterclockwise, which should push this into the dropout here. And if you look, there's a notch there that fits. I flip around, it fits in there. This notch fills this gap, and then this sits flush on the top, this flush on the bottom, putting pressure against the dropout and pulling the axle back, keeping consistent chain tension. So there's chain tension 101. All right, let me get that adjusted. All right, so I have the nut just hand tight. So what I notice is, I'm trying to show how you need this to be flush. So I'll tighten the chain tension, but just enough to where it can move a little bit, because I notice when I hand tighten this, let's see if that moves. Oh, that's good. But that's still enough tension. It's not moving. You see I'm tapping it, it's not moving. I mean, the bike's moving, but the chain tensioner is not. But this is still loose enough that I can now, it'll hold the chain tensioner tight against the dropout, keep it from pulling off, and then I can tighten this up. I'm dying to check these check marks here to see if it helps me center things up. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this side, take off the nut, the washer, put the chain tensioner on, get it dry fitted up against here, put this back on, and I'll be right back. All right, here we go. So these are just hand tight, but I have adjusted and I've counted 4 ticks or 4 notches, and this gives me good tension. If I pedal back, a little bit tight, but it is a brand new chain, so I'm gonna leave it there for a minute and see how that goes. So on the other side, I did match up the same amount of spacing, And I mean, that looks pretty good. Get in here. As far as the gap, but what I do, I mean, the easiest way to do is just look at your chain, make sure it looks like it is going even and straight. Ride it. You'll know if it's off. I mean, little differences here aren't going to make a huge difference here because you can see a margin of error inside your chain and your free wheel or cassette or cog or whatever. Free wheel here. So that's chain tension 101. I mean, I can tell you guys, this was probably one of the easiest installs for chain tensioners I've ever done, easily. That was super, it's almost scary how easy that was. I started on the drive side, adjusted here, and basically did the same thing. Finger tight, started to put the 3mm in, turned it counterclockwise, watched the chain here come up and get taut, and as soon as it got to where it is now, I stopped, counted backwards where the line on this metal piece and the check marks here, the tick marks on the outside of this, directly on the floor. Repeated the process on that chain tensioner. So I'm gonna go give it a spin and come back and give you my last impression. All right, so here are the JW chain tensioners on the Big Flyer, or I'm sorry, the big LA Rain Big Ripper. So this is my own, and I've had them on for a while, that's why they're dusty. So the only thing I would change about these chain tensioners is how wide that is. I would like that to cover the entire dropout. I think that would just feel mentally like that chain tensioner isn't gonna slip. But just having that much, I don't know, man. Maybe that's better, maybe it's not. I don't know the physics of it, but I know that looking at Craig's video and looking at my own SE chain tensioners, this anchor covers the whole dropout on both of those, but not on the JW. And by comparison, to give you an idea what I was talking about, the SE chain tensioner, the plunger here, right there, is wider. It's the same width as a dropout. The only thing I would change. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in and checking out our chain tensioner review. Hope you learned something there. Me personally, I like the $50 JW tensioners. I think personally they win just for the tick marks. But I do, the pros on that one, pros, tick mark, clean look and feel, super easy to install. Color options are amazing because you can get all kinds of different color options there. Easy of use. The only thing I would change about that chain tensioner is the piece that goes against the dropout is just a little bit narrow. It's about half the size of an SE dropout on the big bikes, where the TNT at $30 and the SE at $20, those chain tensioners both have the wider, I'm calling it a plunger, I don't know, but the piece that pushes against the dropout is wider than JW. But that's the only thing I would change. So my opinion is the $50 worth it. If you can afford the extra 20 bucks, it'll save you time. If you get a color of a chain tensioner that you can use on multiple bikes, then I could see that being beneficial, where you can kind of use that. You're buying one tensioner, but you're using it for multiple bikes down the road. That might be a good option for you. If you're just looking for a chain tensioner, because like for me, like on my bike, on my personal, like the bike that I ride, like on ride outs, is a big flyer. I just have basic, the entry $20 chain tensioners from Essie on there. Love them. They are harder for me to get dialed, but once they're dialed, I don't really, the only time I mess with it is if I get a flat. So it's kind of a set it and forget it thing. And for me, I think personally that you have to have chain tensioners, especially if you're, wheelies and stuff like that, because you put a lot of torque yanking on the handlebars and pushing down on that crank. I've noticed my wheel turns a lot, especially when I do like half cranks and stuff like that. Maybe I'm not tightening the bolts down tight enough, but I mean, that could be it. But I just think running chain tensioners is an easier way to solve problems before they happen. Your chain is going to stay, your chain's going to stay nice and taut. You're going to keep a centered wheel, and you're going to have less problems. So like I said at the beginning of the video, the whole reason that got me, the whole thing that got me started on this was the very first ride out I took my wife on. 100 yards in, the back tire moved and we got separated from the pack, getting everything tightened back up again, centered and fixed. And so it wasn't a great experience. Luckily someone stopped and we had a blast, but if we would have had chain tensioners on at that point, it wouldn't have happened, and her first ride would have been perfect. So for me, it's you're just kind of investing in a set it and forget it thing with chain tensioners, but it's a huge upgrade compared to what we used to have as kids when we didn't have chain tension options that I remember. Anyway, they've been around for a long time, but no one used them. But anyway, hope this helps. Hope you learned a lot about the SE, the TNT, and the JW from Craig and I. Craig, thank you for showing all of the stuff that you have, that with especially the TNT, I don't have it. So thanks for your review. Hope this helps everybody. Have fun. The important thing is ride your bike, enjoy your bike, and don't get caught up too much in the brands and stuff like that. You're looking for performance, you're looking for quality, you're looking for just making your bike ride experience better. And however you do that, whether it be through the more expensive parts or just something that like a chain tensioner, set it and forget it. Do what you got to do, but have fun on your bike. All right, we'll see you guys later.
So it really comes down to personal preference, and basically you just get to make a choice of what you want, how you want it to look, and how you want it to function. I really like chain tensioners. I think they're cool. I think they serve a purpose. And I'm going to keep using them, whether I use the SE, the TNT like we saw in the Dogtown, or a type like the JW. It's going to be all up to my preferences, and I'm sure you guys are going to choose what you like as well. So that's been my chain tensioner review. Hope you guys liked it. If you got any questions, drop us a comment below. Let us know what you think. And happy chain tensioning. Late.